Thank you very much, colleague. The President noted yesterday in his statement that the virus will have a significant impact on the economy. We've identified 6 areas of work over the last few weeks that will seek to support efforts both to contain the spread of the virus, but also to ensure that we have the economic means to fight this. These areas, the first one is we've been monitoring the impact of the virus on the global economy and on critical export channels that South Africa is dependent on. Secondly, we've worked to secure supplies of basic public hygiene and medical stocks. Third, we've worked on industrial measures to protect against infection. Fourth, we're looking at the organization of industry to address potential downtime, short time, and shutdowns. Fifth, we're in discussion now on the measures to deal with the anticipated economic slowdown. And finally, we're looking at securing supply chains and dealing with disruptions there. At 2 o'clock today, we will be meeting with the leadership of the business community, the trade unions, and various community organizations at a specially convened Executive Council meeting of NEDLAC, where we will seek, together with colleagues from the different sections, to develop common approaches, common communication, and coordinated responses between business, labor, community, and government. We've also been reaching out to a number of sectors. We've been in discussion with food and beverage sectors, steel, autos, the retail sector, particularly food retail, pharmaceutical companies, mining companies, and importers of basic products like wheat. On the securing of the supplies of public health hygiene stocks, we've looked at provisions of hand sanitizers, face masks, gloves, protective clothing, and test kits, analyzing and quantifying existing production capability in South Africa, and looking at what we need to do to scale up, what some of the constraints are. Some of these components are imported and we want to secure those. In respect of industry measures to protect against infection, there was the Business Day question earlier about workplaces with more than 100 people. And Minister Ngesi will provide more information later after the NEDLAC meeting. But essentially what we're looking at is getting industries, every sector, to work on plans to limit the spread and avoid the spread of the virus at the workplace. So social distance provisions around canteens, clocking in arrangements, all of those will be rapidly worked through after the NEDLAC meeting. We're looking at industrial hygiene and mass cleaning of surfaces. And also, and this is a useful opportunity, seeing how workplace medical facilities could be used both for staff, but also in some instances, in appropriate examples, for surrounding communities. Some mining companies have already indicated a willingness to look at that, and that may expand the capability of the public health system. On industry organization, it's discussions will commence this afternoon on issues like short time, job sharing, the question of the UIF and WCA resources, all of that. Again, Minister Ngesi has been looking at the numbers, trying to identify what is possible, what's not, and further discussions will take place. On economic slowdown measures, Minister Mboweni has already indicated that Treasury is on high alert, that they've put together a National Treasury Coordinating Working Group to be able to see when and how interventions can best be made. We're also looking at the work that can be done by development finance institutions to support companies, particularly in their portfolios that are currently struggling. And we will be engaging with the commercial banks and financial sector. On securing the supply chain, there was a question from Reuters earlier on the ports, and you'd have noted from the announcement by the President that it's principally land borders, and even there it would be the smaller land borders. On the sea ports of entry, only 2 have been affected, and only in respect of passenger and crew. So our intention is to get the goods movement in the economy flowing. It's important both for our for getting essential supplies, but also because this is a critical source, obviously, of economic activity that we need. There are also critical industries that we've been talking to, from healthcare, food and beverage and so on, to make sure that they have their supply lines intact, not only the import supply lines, but also the domestic ones. And from the retail sector, they're optimistic that they can work on retaining their supply lines. Of course, we need to ensure that there's no panic buying, because that then leads to further panic in the retail sector. But what has been strong and important for us is that we have a domestic industrial capability to supply the basic goods, basic food goods, basic consumer goods, and so we're setting up and making sure that those don't get disrupted. Thank you.